The practice of Fender Katsalidis is quite a young practice, although the work relationships between the principles of the practice go back many years. And like so many practices, we started off fairly small and have grown. And it's been quite a dramatic growth in both the size of the practice and the scale of the work that we undertake. We've settled on a size of practice around about 50 people, which we find very comfortable to continue a role as a boutique design practice, but provides us with the resources to undertake projects of quite significant scale. And so, having started working very much in central Melbourne, we now find ourselves working throughout Australia, into Southeast Asia, and also the Mediterranean and the Middle East. So the practice itself has matured to a great extent, starting off again like most architectural practices, but having adopted systems which again enable us to undertake work in a very elegant way on a very large scale. I see the architectural profession within the construction industry actually at a bit of a crossroads. But I think out of that crossroads we'll choose the right direction. But understanding what the right direction is and how to take that is something we all need to work at. The construction industry in general, in Australia and really the rest of the world, most of the rest of the world, is still very much cottage industry in its interrelationships, whereas the rest of the world has progressed in its use of information technology. And it's now the turn of the construction industry to start to embrace the increase in effectiveness that can arise from that use of information technology. In doing so, it's going to fundamentally change some of the interrelationships within that industry. And some players are going to become more powerful, and some players are going to become less powerful and perhaps even disappear. There is a challenge for architects to be able to chart a bright direction through that, because no matter what happens, our skills are still in the synthesis of disparate information and the creation of a thing which encapsulates the aspirations of society as well as providing a fundamental tenet of shelter. One of the really great things that we've found as we've been working in the last few years, and I say this as an architect who's been working postgraduate for 26 years and really has been working longer than that, is that we're enjoying our work far more than we ever used to. We feel we're doing our work far better than we ever used to do. And we find our effectiveness in translating our thoughts into the built reality is a more cogent process than it ever used to be. We also find that for people working in our practice, there is a role for everyone, whereas traditionally there is a distinct hierarchy. Working in a traditional manner in architectural practice, at the top of the hierarchical tree were the owners of the practice, and down the bottom were the people joining the practice. What we find now is that there is a far greater sharing of skills, and what we find is that younger people have complementary skills to the older people in the practice, and the older people have a greater level of architectural experience, but the younger people often have a technological capability that goes far beyond those of the senior people in the practice. And what that means is that there is a sharing of skills, that there is a complementarity of skills, and there is a far greater collaboration within the practice between older, experienced members of staff and younger, newer members of staff because of their sharing of the skills. And it's a collaboration between those different people that creates the strength of the practice. So what that means for younger architects, and therefore architectural students who are planning to join a practice, is that for us there is a far more profoundly important role for recent graduates than there ever used to be. And for us, that is just a wonderful, wonderful thing to see younger people join the practice, feel engaged, actively enjoying themselves, and us enjoying seeing the results of their work.